Good evening, sir. So today I will be discussing the six agreements, six contracts, or situations that you provided us and instructed us to create contracts out of them. So I am using my phone right now because Loom and my laptop are not coordinating the way I would want them to be. So yeah, here I will show it to you. Here, um, we have the loan agreement, which you will also be able to see in the files that I will send to you. So here, the specification for this loan agreement, or the specification for investor one, was that he or she has a big amount of money that can be lent, and he or she does not want to be involved in the daily operations or in the management of the company, and he or she is only in for the return that he or she will be getting um, out of the transaction, or the agreement. So, in all my examples, I will be using Ben and Mary's Tavern. So in this agreement, we have them as the borrower and investor one as the lender. So in the agreement, I specified that the amount will be 500,000 pesos. It will um, it will start on June 25, 2020. The initial payment will be 100,000. This payment will be paid 4 months after the money has been deposited to the borrower. So the loan will be 10 years, and every month the borrower has to pay principal plus the 7% interest rate agreed upon by the company, by the borrower and the lender. So they both agree that they are in good health and authorized to partake and provide consent in such agreement. By signing this, they agree that the governing governing state will be of the parties doing business will be governed by the Philippine law. In any dispute that may occur, the payments shall be made by the borrower. It will be continued as to give respect to the lender for lending out the money to them. So in this situation, what I added actually to the specification is that Ben and Mary's Tavern and Investor One are good friends, which goes to show here in the amount that they borrowed, and also given the fact that Investor One has a lot of money that he can just lend and watch it grow. I added that they're close friends. That's why the loan is very lenient of 10 years and 7% interest only per month, which is very I would say soft in the pockets of the borrower, or in the Filipino saying, magaan sa bulsa. So yeah, that's for the loan agreement. So moving on. This would be the equity investment contract. So here, as you mentioned to us, sir, that the second investor or investor 2 also has cash, but the difference with him and investor 1 is that he would want a share. He would want a to watch his money grow and would like to be somehow involved. He also believes in that not all investments have a guaranteed return, because I believe in my own experience, he or she is engaging in a probably common stock kind of situation wherein he would want a say to what's happening in the company, to where the expenses will be going, to what projects they would be approving and whatnot. And they would basically somehow cooperate and engage in business together, and their money or the split of their money will actually depend on the profit that the business makes with them, you know. Comparing that to the loan agreement that we have for the first investor, who's just in it for the money or the return, if we compare them, actually the first thing that would come into my mind, seeing that he or she does only wants returns, I actually thought that he would be a preferred stockholder. But then I reviewed the video, and it was actually supposed to be a loan, so I had to research on what kind of contract I had to do for this. So hence the loan agreement, and here the equity investment contract. So it's specified here that the total shares of the company is 2,500, and the lot split would be 60 to 40 in favor of the company. And another specification that I've pointed out here is that not only in their equity are they splitting, but also in the profits that they do business together in. So for example, let's say the company is engaging with another company, and it is going to make use of the investors IT skills. So I forgot to mention that the investor 2 is actually an information technology company. So there, they would also split it the same way they split equity, which is 60-40. So other specifications like termination notice, if either parties would want to terminate the contract, they have to do so, but in a manner that both parties will be involved in such decision. So the company shall, next specification that I put in is the expenses that will be incurred by the investor. The expenses will be charged to the company as long as these expenses are done for the sake of the company, or for a project that's being done for the company. So yeah, another agreement or specification that I put in is that anything that any agreement that is not written cannot be implied in this agreement. So if, let's say, the investor or the business owner had an agreement prior to this contract, and while reading it, they forgot about it, they read it, and they signed it, then the thing that they were talking about prior to the signing, and they did not see it here in the contract, they should not sign it. So it should be written basically. And since if they sign this, any of those agreements that are not written here cannot be um, followed. So yeah, other things such as the revisions that either parties would want, both parties need to talk on it, and it has to be written, and to make it binding. And yeah, this agreement will be governed by the laws of Paranaque. Yes. Any breach of failure proceeded by either party shall not hinder their obligation. So that goes the same with the early contract that I discussed, in where anything that would happen, they would still need to pursue their duties, which are stated in the contract. So in the end, I have the companies agreeing that they will not disclose anything to any terms and conditions to anyone outside of the contract. So it's only between them. Yeah, so I'm gonna move on, cut the video because it's gonna take out of space. So next we have the probationary employment contract, the regular employee contract, and the security service agreement. Now, what these three have in common are their specifications on what the certain person is supposed to do, or their job specification, and why they have been hired, and the rules that they need to generally adhere to. And yeah, the difference with the probationary contract with the others is that this contract is only for a personnel who is being tested for a span of 6 months. So after 6 months, and the company did not provide her with a notice that she is terminated and has to leave because her characteristics or personality or work ethic does not match the company standard, they have to let her out. But if they fail to do so, she will become a regular employee. And yeah, so we followed the front desk clerk that was provided us by Sir. So we have here the amount that she will receive when she will come to work, department that she will report in, and the other things. So going to the regular employee. So the regular employee, that the specifications that we specifically added was that he, or regulations, or rules or terms that this person needs to adhere to, given the fact that he or she is a alcoholic, or a heavy smoker, or even perhaps a drug addict. What I did basically was imply or say that by undertaking any of the specified violations hereafter will be maybe provide to them disciplinary actions, so that they will correct these behaviors, or they may be terminated. So here we can see that drinking highly intoxicated in gatherings is not allowed. Drug use or smoking in the unauthorized smoking area is also allowed. So the difference also with the probationary and the regular is that the probationary does not have the privilege of sick leaves or vacation leaves, while the regular have privilege of being or privilege of gaining access to sick leaves, vacation leaves, and the government mandated benefits, like their SSS, their Pag-ibig, and their PhilHealth. So moving on to the security service agreement, which is for the purpose of the security guard. This contract is between me and the agency, between the company and the agency. It has stated here that are the list of job specifications, description on what they need to do, what time they will go to work, how much they will receive, and such. So moving on to the last one, which is the supply agreement. In this contract, we were supposed to put a contract for the first project of the company. So the first I forgot to mention that my company, being a supplier of a fresh goods, our first project is supplying 1,000 kilograms of fresh romaine lettuce to Wendy's Philippines. So it will begin in May 30. It will end in August 8th, 2020. Yeah, the payment will be weekly, and then the delivery will also be weekly. So a total of 1,000 kilograms will be delivered to Wendy's, and in batches of 100 kilograms. So the total amount of weeks for this project is just 10 weeks. So the payment also is here stated, and I also added a additional fee for every time that they pay late. Then if there will be disputes within the contract, either parties may cease the contract, stop it. Then any invoices that may happen during the transaction period cannot be charged the client. So other specification is that both parties are in good health and are authorized to provide consent in pursuing the agreement. And that's it basically. This is the contract for supplying of the fresh romaine lettuce of Ben and Mary's Tavern to Wendy's Philippines. So I just want to share the things that I learned in doing these assignments. Well, the content that I placed in here are all very simple. I just basically and generally followed what certain contracts must include, and the form is not really that consistent because I I just I just went on to um, put the content basically. And another thing I want to share is that in the probationary period here, I got to find out that in a company, the probationary period is actually a crucial part for a employee and for the employer, because the employee has to present themselves in a manner that the employer will enjoy or make use of their skills and um, be comfortable with with themselves. And the problem with that is that there are actually people who would lie in their characteristics or pretend that there's something just to get into a company, and then later on the company is gonna have problems with this person because they hired them and made them regular, which was a bad idea because they're not actually showing the real them during that period. So it's just saddening to hear something like that. And imagine you training this employee, and they would treat you that way, with dishonesty, and the dishonesty, and basically the whole thought of it is just disappointing. So those actually were my two takeaways. This exercise helped me a lot, especially with identifying myself with what content needs to be put in a basic contract and what their specifications should be. So yeah, thank you, sir.